Hello my dear students, today let us discuss a topic that is concept of disease causation, and this topic comes under the first unit of medical nursing, and this topic explains different theories of disease and how disease was perceived from the primitive time period to modern era. So let us discuss. The specific objectives of this topic is, by the end of the class, students may be able to define disease, understand different theories of disease, identify supernatural theory, analyze germ theory of disease, explain the triad of disease causation, describe multifactorial causation of disease, and explain web of causation of disease. So, as an introduction, first let us discuss what disease is. Disease is a dynamic process and it is just opposite to health. So, disease is a state which is dynamic in nature. That means disease is always changing, and the literal meaning of disease is it is just opposite to health. So, health denotes perfect harmony and normal functioning of all the body system or state of complete wellness, whereas disease denotes disharmony and deviation from the normal functioning of various body functioning system. So, if a person is said to be healthy, that means there is perfect harmony of all the body system, and if a person is said to be diseased, there will be disharmony of all the body system. So, if all the body functions are vital in nature, that means if all the body functions are performing perfectly okay, then that person is said to be healthy, and diseased person is just opposed to healthy person. And there are some definitions of disease. According to Webster, Webster is one of the famous dictionaries in English and which is commonly used, and according to Webster dictionary, disease is defined as a condition in which body health is impaired, departure from state of health, an alteration of human body function and interrupting the performance of vital function. So, disease is a condition in which body health is impaired. That means if a person's health is impaired, that the person will be diseased, and diseased person will be departed from a state of health, and there will be alteration of human body function. All the human body functions will be altered, and there will be interruption of the performance of vital function. So, this is the definition of disease according to Webster. Then according to English dictionary, disease is a condition of body or some part of the body or organ of body in which its functions are disrupted. So, according to English dictionary, if the body functions are disrupted or interrupted, then that particular state is called as disease. Then according to ecological point of view, disease is a maladjustment of human organism to the environment. So, if there is any maladjustment of human person to environment, that particular state is called as disease. So, these are some of the definitions of disease. Then let us discuss some of the theories of disease causation. There are 5 theory which describes disease. The first one is supernatural theory. So, supernatural theory, as the name suggests, this theory describes disease based on the supernatural power. So, when we look back into the history, it is very clear and evident that people who lived in the primitive society, they were highly uncivilized. Since they were highly uncivilized, that means since the primitive people were highly uncivilized, everything was connected to religion. So, even in the biblical record, it is clear and evident that disease was considered as a curse or punishment from the God. And the primitive people were illiterate, and there were lack of awareness, lack of education, and there were prevalence of superstitious beliefs. Because of these factors, the concept and the attitude and perception towards the disease was different. And religion was one of the strongest as well as significant institutions in the primitive society, and everything was connected to religion, and the civilization was controlled by religious rules and regulations, codes and ethics, etc. So in the beginning of human development, evil, ghost, magical spells and supernatural power were considered to be the reason for disease. And people worshipped supernatural power, people worshipped ghost, evil, etc. So everything was connected to religion. Religion was one of the significant social institutions in the primitive society. So disease was also connected to religion. And primitive people, they believed that they had a concept that if a person becomes ill, it was because of the curse or punishment from the god. So the treatment modalities for the deceased one was different. That means they treated the ill or they treated the deceased person using magical spells and religious chants, etc. And the role of the physician was given to priests, magicians and religious peoples, etc. So that was the situation or scenario which was prevalent in primitive society. And primitive society, the disease was related to religion, everything was connected to religion, so the disease and health was also related to religion. And what was the reason for this concept? Illiteracy, uncivilized nature of society and the prevalence of superstitious beliefs and lack of awareness, lack of scientific studies. So these were some of the reasons for this supernatural theory. And supernatural theory doesn't make any sense, that was completely out of point and that doesn't have any kind of logic, because supernatural theory doesn't have any scientific base, that doesn't explain the exact cause of disease. Next one is germ theory of disease. As the time goes on, the attitude and the perception of the society has changed. And by the end of the primitive time period, during the medieval period, the religious church, the importance of religious church has reduced and the importance towards the religion has reduced, and people started to concentrate more on scientific studies, and people or society became much more civilized, and the education was given more importance, and the people started to become more aware about the scientific studies, education, etc. So 19th century, the early 19th century is considered as the golden era for newer experimentations and scientific inventions, etc. And the mid 19th century is considered as the golden era of bacteriology. In 19th century, there were emergence of new scientists, and they did different scientific experimentation, and they did scientific studies. Based on the scientific studies, they postulated different scientific theories, and the science has given more importance. So the medieval period is considered as the golden era for medicine as well as some of the scientific inventions. So in 19th century, there was a French bacteriologist who Louis Pasteur postulated the theory called germ theory of disease. So germ theory of disease was a turning point or a breakthrough in disease causation theories. So this French bacteriologist Louis Pasteur explains that a disease is not because of a curse or punishment from the god, and those kinds of theories are completely illogical. That doesn't make any sense. A disease may be because of a particular causative agent. So according to germ theory, it explains that a disease is caused by a microbe. It can be bacteria, virus, fungi, etc. So germ theory of disease was proposed by Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur is considered as a father of bacteriology, and he is a French bacteriologist, and it states that germs are the reason for disease. Even though it was a different concept, it has some limitations or drawbacks as well. So it doesn't explain the other causes of disease. So germ theory of disease was a turning point. It was a breakthrough in disease causation theories. Even though it was a turning point, there were some limitations. So according to germ theory, it explains that a disease is caused by a causative agent, which is a microbe. That means there is a causative agent, a microbe. Microbe enters into the host body and there will be disease. So that is the explanation of germ theory. And a disease agent, man disease. That means disease agent enters into the host, which is man, and this disease agent produces diseases. This is a explanation of germ theory of disease. So, germ theory of disease was the turning point. The breakthrough came in 1816 when French bacteriologist Louis Pasteur demonstrated the presence of bacteria in air. In 1873, he advanced theory of spontaneous generation. So, he found out bacteria in air, and that was a turning point in bacteriology. And this breakthrough in bacteriology that helped in the postulation of germ theory of disease. Later, after germ theory of disease, which is postulated by Louis Pasteur, there were many scientists who invented different kinds of bacteria. Later, Robert Koch discovered anthrax caused by bacteria, and golden era of bacteriology began with the discovery of microbe after microbe. Okay, there were many scientists who discovered different kinds of bacteria. Then, based on the Koch postulates, a specific microorganism is always associated with a given disease. So, this Koch postulates that describe some of the new changes in the bacteriology, and according to Koch postulates, a specific microorganism is always responsible or associated with a disease. Microorganism can be isolated from the diseased animal and grown in pure culture in the laboratory. The cultured microbe will cause disease when transferred to a healthy animal. The same type of microorganism can be isolated from newly infected animal. So, this Koch postulates as well as germ theory of disease, these two theories and invention of new bacteria that created a new turning point in the field of bacteriology as well as new turning point in the theory of disease causation. So, people started to believe in bacteriology, and the society accepted that a disease may be because of a bacteria. This germ theory as well as this Koch postulates got more recognition, and this Koch postulates as well as germ theory has become a turning point in bacteriology as well as concept of disease causation. The germ theory has many limitations. It was unable to explain why only some people suffer from the disease after exposure to microorganism, not all, as with exposure to tubercular bacteria. Germ theory of disease has many limitations. It couldn't explain why only few people get disease even though they are exposed to that particular microorganism. So, germ theory explains that a disease is exclusively caused by a microorganism, but disease is not exclusively caused by a microorganism. There may be multiple factors, but according to germ theory, it explains that disease is exclusively by a microorganism. So, it has some limitation. It couldn't explain why only few people get the disease even though they are exposed to microorganism. Why some people do not suffer from the disease even though they harbor the pathogen in the body as a carrier state. So, it has some limitations. It also couldn't explain why some people do not get the microorganism, do not get the disease even though they are carriers. So, these are some of the limitations of germ theory of disease. Germ theory of disease was an innovative theory even though it has some limitations. So, because of these limitations, drawbacks of germ theory of disease, it led into another concept of disease causation, another theory of disease causation. So, this lead to demand of broader concept of disease causation that synthesize the basic factors of agent, host and environment. So, germ theory of disease has some limitation. Since it has some limitation, it needed there was a demand of broader theory, broader concept which explained the causation of a disease. So, it moved into epidemiological triad of disease causation. So, from the germ theory of disease causation, there was a change into epidemiological triad of disease causation. So, germ theory of disease causation explained that there is only single causative agent for a disease, but according to epidemiological triad of disease theory, it explains that a disease is caused by three major factors. So according to epidemiological triad, along with the germ, host and environment are also responsible for the disease. So in germ theory of disease, it explained that only a host is only an agent, or only a microorganism is responsible for a disease. But in epidemiological triad of disease causation, it explains that a disease is caused by an agent, host and environment, and there need to be harmony of these three factors, then only there will be occurrence of disease. So this theory believes that an interaction between the three constituents, that is host, agent and environment, is essential to develop a disease. For the development of a disease, there need to be association of the three factors, that are agent, host and environment, then only there will be disease. So this is the pictorial representation of epidemiological triad. So in this picture, it is represented as agent, host and environment. So there need to be close association of these three factors, then only there will be disease process. So let's discuss what an agent is. So agent may be the foremost factor in epidemiological triad. So agent is the thing which produces a disease, which creates a disease. It can be bacteria, virus, and it can be fungi, it can be chemical factors, and it can be physical factor, biological factor, etc. There can be single agent or multiple agent. Then there are different types of agents. Then biological agents like insects, microorganisms, fungi, virus, bacteria, etc. Then nutritional agents like deficiency, imbalance of nutritional content, protein, carbohydrate, etc. Physical agents like heat, cold, pressure, radiation, etc. So these are some of the examples of agent: bacteria, virus, fungi, amoeba, etc. Then next one is host. Host means agent is the thing which produces a disease, and host is the harboring unit of agent. So the agent enters into the host and the agent produces a disease. So host is whom in which the disease is spread. It can be animal, it can be human being, etc. So there are different host factors as well. Demographic factors, these include individual sex, age, etc. Then biological factors, like some diseases are common in some specific individual. So these are the pictorial representation of host factors. Host factors examples are age, sex, health behavior, immunity, genetic makeup, etc. Okay, some diseases are exclusively seen in some kind of gender. For example, breast cancer is seen in females and prostate cancer is seen among males, and some diseases are exclusively seen in children, and some diseases are exclusively seen in geriatric client, etc. So these are some of the examples of host factors. So host is the person in whom the causative agent produces disease. Next one is environment. So environment is a surrounding where the pathogen lives. So environment means a surrounding, the surrounding of the host. So it includes the socio-economic factor, lifestyle factors, example education, financial status, housing condition, custom, rituals, etc. So some of the environment factors are sanitization, water, air, noise, custom, etc. So quality of water, the purity of air, and quantity of noise, and the sanitation facilities, and the religious custom. This also determines the process of disease in a person. So this is what an epidemiological triad explains. So according to epidemiological triad, a disease is caused because of the close association of host factor, then agent and the environment. So there is a triangle which is formed when these three factors are closely associated. So that is how epidemiological triad explains the causation of a disease. The next one is multifactorial causation. So according to this theory, disease is caused by multiple factors. So in epidemiological triad, it explains that a disease is caused by only three factors, that is agent, host and environment, and there need to be close association of these three factors. Then only there will be disease process. But in multifactorial causation, this theory explains that there will be multiple reasons or multiple factors for a particular disease. So, this epidemiological triad has some limitations. It could only explain the occurrence of communicable diseases, but multifactorial causation could explain the occurrence of non-communicable diseases and lifestyle diseases. This theory explains that all the factors which contribute a disease has equal importance. The factors contribute a disease include social, economic, cultural, genetic and psychological factors. Okay, now it is recognized that a disease is not only caused by an organism but also predisposed by many factors contributing to its occurrence. So, epidemiological triad could only explain the occurrence of communicable disease, and epidemiological triad also explained that a communicable disease is caused by three factors, caused by the association of three factors, and epidemiological triad could not explain the occurrence of non-communicable disease. So, for example, modern disease of civilization like lung cancer, diabetes, coronary artery disease and mental illness etc. has several contributing factors behind for their occurrence. So, according to multifactorial theory of disease causation, the lifestyle diseases are caused by different kinds of multiple factors. It is now known that diseases such as coronary heart disease and cancer are due to multiple factors. For example, excess of fat intake, smoking, lack of physical exercise, obesity are involved in the pathogenesis of coronary heart disease. Most of these factors are linked to lifestyle and human behavior. So, according to multifactorial causation, a disease is caused by multiple factors. There are different etiology for a particular disease. It may be psychological, it may be environmental, it may be genetic. So, there will be lots of causative reason for a particular disease. For example, if a person is having coronary artery disease, there are many lifestyle factors as well as there are some genetic factors which can leading to coronary artery disease. And for cancer also there are many lifestyle factors and genetic factors. So, non-communicable diseases are mainly because of multiple factors. So, a disease is not because of three major factors, it may be because of multiple factors. That is what multifactorial causation of theory explains. Then the last theory of disease causation is web of causation. So, web of causation is somewhat similar to multifactorial causation of disease. The web of causation explains all the predisposing factors of a disease and their interrelationship with each other. So, this is the pictorial representation of web of causation. So, web of causation also explains that a disease is because of multiple factors and these multiple factors are interconnected. So, for the occurrence of particular disease there are different kinds of factors. Sometimes these factors are interconnected. So, in this picture the pathogenesis of myocardial infarction is explained based on different factors. So, the first one is change in lifestyle and stress, and change in lifestyle may cause abundance of food factors, smoking, and stress may also cause smoking, and stress may also cause emotional disturbances, and these factors are closely connected, interlinked. So, according to web of causation there will be multiple factors for a particular disease and these factors are interconnected, and these interconnected factors eventually lead into a particular disease condition. So, this is what web of causation is, web of causation explains. So, these are some of the theories which explain the disease causation. So, and by the end we can conclude that as the time goes, the concept towards health and illness has changed. So, in the primitive period people had a different thought towards health and illness, and as the time advances the concept towards health and illness has changed. Now, a disease is perceived as different, and the occurrence of disease is considered as based on web of causation. So, there was a transitional change in the thought and perception and attitude towards the health and illness. So, this is what concept of disease causation. So, thank you.